Hey, Michelle, what are we doing today?
Hey, Maddie. So today we're going to talk about something that I think to me is kind of one of the most mysterious aspects of the college application process, and that's the wait list. And it's really relevant today because we're kind of in the middle, getting towards the tail end of the wait list season. And for this year, it seems like there's so many factors that are affecting like movement on the wait list. So we're going to kind of take a look at what the wait list landscape looks like this year. So anyone who's on a wait list now, this episode is perfect for you.
It's one of the most complicated and often important aspects of this process for students. So, yes, let's break it down.
So, of course, we're going to talk about like what's going on with waitlists this year. But first, I want to ask you like a couple questions, just general questions, and also kind of look back at 2020. So, just for people listening, like what does it mean when you are waitlisted, and like what's kind of the process behind a waitlist?
You mentioned 2020. If I told you the story of the 2020 wait list, because I
I
you
don't
mentioned
think
20.
so.
Oh, we're gonna get into 2020 and then
Yes.
2021. I promise. That's like your question's like my general thoughts on it.
Yeah. Or yeah, and like I mean, a student when they find out they're on a wait list, like what does that mean? What happens from there?
Okay, so I guess I'll preface it. I always look at your notes the night before we do these. This is the Michelle episode, and I swear, as I looked at my notes, and my takeaway was, I need to find the hat. Like I need to,
Uh-oh. Oh,
yeah. I
yes.
was like, I know, Charlie, get the graphic ready because it's not. I need the hat because waitlists, by their nature, are one of the more confusing and like unexplored and honestly sketchy aspects of college admissions in that,
Mhm.
well, what a waitlist really is and what it's for, it really gets into the nitty gritty, like like inside the dark depths of how like college admissions really works. So there's something referred to as yield, and yield is essentially the percentage of students who are accepted to a school who choose to attend. So let's say
Okay.
a school accepts 5,000 students and 1,000 of them actually attend. 4,000 either go somewhere else or just decide not to go to college, I guess. I don't know, but they didn't go
Mhm.
for whatever reason. Well, they have a yield of 20% in that year. And this concept of yield is crucial to the point that my understanding is schools spend comical amounts of money and resources trying to hit their yield numbers right. Like
Wow.
possibly up to and more than they pay on actual admissions process themselves. Like they outsource it, and it's because
Wow, okay.
yield is crucial because there's always going to be a yield percentage. You're never going to have 100. Well, even if you did, it's still yield. If you have 100% of students who you accept actually show up, that's still a yield of 100%. It still matters. And
Right.
these schools are businesses that literally are like bed and breakfasts. They have dorm rooms. They have bathrooms. Like they can only they have they have like fire code limits. Like these are real places,
Yeah.
and that is why it is crucial that they have basically the number of students they want an implant class of, the magical 5,000 school. They want a class of say 1,800 students. It is really really important that they get as close to 1,800 students showing up. Hopefully, and also hopefully like using the resources evenly, but just in general,
Mhm.
having 800 students like hit the number because it's really bad. Like either way, if you under say only 1,600 show up, that's 200 students who aren't paying anymore, right? That's a big
Right.
problem. It's also 200
Yeah.
students that aren't going to be using the facilities, but you're still paying for there to be the resources for 1,800 students. These are giant companies, so like
Mhm.
that's really bad. You lose a lot of money if you are undersold on that. But possibly even worse is if you over enlist. If like 2,000 show up, well now you have 2,000 students and 1,800 beds. You have 2,000 students and 1,800 chairs worth of classes, is going around.
Right.
On a lower extent, if those 1,800, like 1,600 of them want to do computer science as opposed to the 400 that you were anticipating, that also causes a lot of problems, right? So that breaks
Yeah.
down like even into smaller things, and that is what leads to these schools, spending a bunch of money on the process, and they have to kind of every year they have to figure out how it's basically like a guesstimation problem. How many students do you need to accept based on historical data and current worldwide trends from different realms
Mhm.
in which to ensure that you are as close to the yield that you actually are hoping for to get the number of students that you actually want.
Okay.
And the fact that that's a very complicated formula is why there's very complicated answers for it that generally involve like a lot of math and other stuff that I don't really think about very much because it doesn't apply to my but I get why they care so much because it's bad.
Yeah.
And that is also where I think waitlists come in, and then waitlists have always existed. but they are, I think, more and more used, especially after, as mentioned, 2020, which we will get to. We will get to 2020 waitlist.
Mhm.
Basically, it makes sense to me because, well, it's a band-aid. It's a boo-boo. So in theory, if done correctly, you shouldn't have it take anyone off the wait list, nor should you have to do anything else. Like you nailed it. Like
Right.
your
Right.
yield is secure. Well, what happens if you're under? Well, let's say that's where a wait list is very helpful because then you can then take to the wait list. If you over enlist, A, you're screwed, but B,
Yeah.
this like I'm just gonna hold the hack. I'm gonna using it so much because that's the key.
Okay.
Is all this stuff is gonna be very based dependent on schools we'll get to, and also it's like they don't talk about this part. This is like nitty-gritty stuff in a way that I have to have a hat to talk
Mhm.
about. But if they over enlist, well, A, that's a much more difficult problem. That is also why the hat theory is that schools that renege on applications for crappy grades, I've always considered that's if you need say a reverse the hat comes on. If you need a reverse wait list,
Oh.
well, what's and we'll also get to like also waitlist stuff tends to move very quickly because this is in June and July and they need your money now to go to school. But
Yep.
they have two students, like they gotta move a reverse waitlist. Well, if I had to build one, I would sort all my incoming students by their GPA and check their GPA of their spring semester, and then whoever we need to cut, like unfortunately, we're just going to go down the list of whoever has the lowest GPA. We cut to that point.
Mhm.
If I had like a day, say, or like a week before this has to get done, we realize we screwed up because the timeline is so tight. That is the best, fairest way that I feel I could do that. The students that have done the weakest in the like after they got in, those are the kids that don't get to come. I don't know. Sorry. Like, please don't fire me
Right.
for screwing up the yields. Like the computer was wrong.
Yikes,
Um,
yeah.
but that sucks. That sucks. Which is why I think the much schools tend to under enroll is my
Mhm.
and that is and to be
Okay.
fair, I would do the same thing. It is much cleaner and easier and less like mean, I guess, to accept fewer student like to play the game so that your yield is likely going to end up with you needing more students in the first place. Then you waitlist a very good amount of them for multiple reasons, as we'll get to, and then you take students off the waitlist. It's also like both just to get to your numbers, but also you have more variance in which students you accept. So even once you have your
Okay.
data and you're short 200 students, it's like, well, what are we short? If you like,
Yeah.
so they could be like you can be short different types of students, right? It's like, well, we need more mathematicians, we need Nobel players. They always say, and I was like, okay, cool, like good thing we have built a wait list that gives us access to that type of student. And I think I will. You can ask another question, but I'm just going to explaining that there's two types of wait lists. Is the next part. What's your next question? I'll see if it's the same.
So, I wanted to kind of talk about 2020 because it seems
Hell
like
yeah.
all right. Because obviously there's like this process of the wait list where they're trying to figure out their yield and like it probably becomes pretty predictable to them, doing this year after year. But then 2020 happens and there's all
Mhm.
of these like unknowns. So, and you're right in the middle of it. So can you kind of talk about like what you saw wait list wise?
Oh, heavens, yes. So I in this field in 2019. So to be blunt, I only know the new normal of waitlist, which yes, happened in 2020. I mean, I worked in 2019, but quite honestly, like yeah, the before times I was not really privy to them. I my so everything I'm saying is that waitlists don't feel weird to me. It doesn't feel
Okay,
different.
yeah.
It's what I know, and yeah, I have my issues with them, but okay. So here's what happened, and the hat does not need to show up quite yet. So what happened is in March of 2020, there was a global pandemic called. I can't say that on YouTube. I can't say it. I can't say it. So timeline stuff. Okay, everyone knows. Yeah, 2020 was a screwed up year.
Mhm.
But here's a timeline that's going to be kind of it's pretty crazy. So here's how waitlists work. I guess we can start with that. Is hat comes on for this part. There are two types of waitlists, and I feel very strongly about this. And I say this to students when like in the season. There are
Mhm.
what I refer to as the real waitlist and the fake waitlist. The real waitlist is basically, it is you are archetyped. Every student who applies to schools is archetyped in some way, and that is generally
Okay.
going to be based upon their academic interests, academic and non-academic interests, but mostly academic. Their major, basically, their location, where they're coming from, their gender, certainly male or female,
Okay.
and well, not anymore because it's from course, but it would not shock me if there are other, I guess, like class, race, how much money they're expected to pay, right? Like there are different metrics that
Mhm.
that that all one way or another file into if not if they want you or not, but like what kind of applicant or student or you would be, like good or bad.
Right.
The real wait list is if basically it's what most people think we like they do like you, you're close, However, they ran out of spots. And more specifically, they ran out of spots of kind of that kind of kid that is basically It is not like college admissions is not like just a straight line where you were 8,012 of 8,000 of accepted applicants. It's more
Okay, got
nuanced than
it.
that. That you were third of 16 applicants that are all sciencey boys from Northeast Virginia. Like that's
Got
kind of how it's
it.
segmented down. Well, you're third in that, like yeah, like third and maybe fourth. They do like you. It's a good application. They waitlist
Mhm.
you, and that is because if you are waitlist in that scenario, you are essentially hoping or banking that, in particular, one of those Northeast boys who's been a math from the same. You probably ran against him in cross country 2 years ago. You have no idea who he is, but like he's in your pool. You're hoping that kid doesn't show up,
Got it.
because if that kid doesn't show up, then they have a slot that they go, okay, yeah, like it's built. I think it's spider webs from there, and there is some hat to this, but that is probably the closest to hat. And every school is going to be different. Always the same caveats. The hat is on, but like that's how waitlist works. It's
Mhm.
more nuanced than simply you were close, right? And I think that makes enough sense. But then there's a fake waitlist, and this is definitely hat time. In that schools are not run by monsters. They're really not. Like college admissions readers, they don't like the fact that at Stanford, 96% of students they have to say no to. I promise you. Like it's a bummer. It's not a fun part of the job. Similarly, there are a lot of students who come off as real like either wonderful people, or they have some sort of connection to the school that it's a bad, like it's gonna sting that you say no. Like not all no's are
Ah,
created
okay.
equal.
Yeah.
And yes, or they wrote about certain things where you're like, I don't feel good, like also breaking this kid's heart right now, for any number of
Mhm.
reasons. Either they overcome some stuff, or it just seems like they wouldn't take it well. Like you pick things up through the reading, whether it's intended or not. That you like, so that's where the waitlist comes in, and it's a fake waitlist. Like I really believe it. Like you don't, you're not. And like the real waitlist, like you're written down somewhere, like
Yeah.
they have Excel spreadsheets and and overpriced software they bought from some guy in a suit that like does this stuff. The fake waitlist, and I know I would do this, is a waitlist is just a rejection with a cute outfit. It's like, but
Yeah.
what happens is when you reject a kid, that's a hard L. They get it in April. That stuff stings, and they have to take that all at once, possibly with many other rejections they're getting. Who knows? A wait list is, well, it's kind of copium, I guess, but also the
Yeah.
nature of a wait list is they're kind of goofy and they don't really like. Sometimes I'm still waitlisted from Notre Dame in 2009. I'm still waiting to hear back. Any day now. So like
It
like
could
hoping
happen.
you're right. So they like a lot of times like wait lists, there is no actual goodbye, or if there is, it comes on August 5th. And
Oh,
by that
man.
point,
Okay.
yeah, or whatever, like the fact that this episode is still gonna be relevant, coming out in the end of June is why rate lists are kind of goofy. But is basically they just they don't. That's why it's a fake wait list. It could be for any. It
Mhm.
could be, or your dad is a powerful person and they don't want to piss them off. There's a billion.
Right.
It's a band aid, and it's just and the key is that by the time you actually know you're not, say I wasn't going to Notre Dame. It's August. I was already excited for about Tulane, and like it's true
Yeah.
that like having a little bit of copium. I would do the same thing, like giving that little bit of copium to let them then figure the stuff out and realize that like this isn't the end of the world. Like they don't. It's not as brutal. That is a nice. I would do the exact same thing. I do it a lot. Like I understand that.
Mhm.
But it's a fake wait list. You're never getting in. Sorry. Like and there's no. I guess there's no real way to tell except like I can usually tell if a kid was like fake or real wait listed because I can look at their stuff.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's true.
like, but that leads us to 2020. And 2020 was a very chaotic year. It wasn't just because I started college with Mattie. There's other things going on. Well, here's the timeline. So the college admissions timeline is students apply around January 1st for all their regular decision schools. Schools report back between the middle of March and early April. And they do all the
Mhm.
decision making in February or so. January, February is when they do all the work, and then it's coming out. Then waitlist season starts right after that, runs until like say the middle end of summer. Well, in 2020, everything was going all hunky dory, everything's business as usual until I would say, oh, I don't know, like the middle of March in 2020, that the world
Yeah.
stopped, that
Okay.
absolute chaos reigned. Important caveat is that all schools have it's basically just a built-in. You have an option that you don't have a gap year policy. It is like is very standard with pretty much every school in America that you can, for pretty much any reason, take a gap year, which means that you accept you want to go, but you're going to show up a year later than usual, and it's a good make
Okay.
good for all sorts of reasons. You have health issues, or you just want a year off, whatever. You're traveling, I don't know, but like every school offers it, and it's super baked into their overall. I think it's about 2% of students tend to take it, and for any number of reasons. And yeah, I get that as well. When it was 2020, and these schools make all their decisions in January, February, and then the exact moment that all the results are coming out, well, a global pandemic happens, and
Crazy.
Well, the results are the results. They it's not like they could or had the wherewithal to be like, "We gotta change everything, guys. This is gonna be bad," you know?
That's
It's like,
true,
"Well,"
yeah.
it's like, "Well, hopefully the president says we'll be gone by Easter," you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Well, now there's a huge problem because I believe the number, and I guess I could look it up, but I'm really certain it is 22%, I believe. It's low 20% of students who were accepted in the 2020 year deferred admission for that year. They took up that policy.
Oh, okay.
And that was a big problem, Michelle,
Yeah, that's
because
crazy.
all these schools suddenly, instead of had 20% fewer students showing up than they were going to before.
Right.
Well, what they do about that, because they still need to make their money, even though class is going to be on Zoom this year. It was a very chaotic time. And for what it's worth, the 22% are smart kids. Like I'm still kick myself for not telling my students to all do that. Like, what a bad deal that was in 2020. Right. Well, first you go to the first you go to the real wait list, Michelle.
Yes.
And 2020 is, you can go back and find it. Like I remember being super kind of bitter about it. 2019, I was working at, oh, censor that, Michelle. I can't say the company. Yeah, run that back. Run back.
Beat that out.
In 2020, I was working at a tutoring center, and I'd done my year, and I do remember the wait lists were phenomenal. Like the acceptances, a student with a 3.2 GPA got into UC Santa Barbara for marine biology with a 3.2,
Oh my
and in my
gosh.
entire career, I've never had a result that is like quite like that, because that made no sense. And like similarly is that there were yeah, like every wait list paid out basically.
Okay.
But that's why I was frustrated. Is like kids were getting into like Irvine and stuff like that, which is fine. But like I wasn't playing in the big leagues yet. Where I would then, if you can go look at the year after, where it was like waitlists are hugely important. I'm doing a waitlist survey. Like last year, 6 of my students got into Harvard, Stanford, Yale. I was so jelly. I was so jelly. And I kind of knew it was screw up at the time, but then okay, so like, but how? How's a 3.2 GPA get in? Like she was going to she was going to go UC Santa Cruz, before that she's in
Mhm.
Santa Barbara, because that was the one school that waitlisted her. Well, I think these schools, and here time is on. I think they ran out of real waitlist slots, and I think they suddenly had to. What do we do?
Yeah.
We have a budget, and we are in so much trouble, and like we are already having a hiring freeze. They will be very upset. We need to get
Oh
these
my
students here.
gosh.
I think they opened back up the fake wait list for the first and only time,
Oh, wow.
and I truly believe at my core that there are many students who I guess are now recently graduated from all the way up to the top that have no right to be at that school. That they were, and the fake wait list is not that they were close, is that they didn't want to hurt their feelings. Like the fake wait
Yeah.
list, there are tons of students way down low who get on the fake wait list that are not strong applicants. They're just there for any number of extra reasons. That's what I think they had to do. I think they were accepting students off the fake wait list. So there are kids that got into all the way up to like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, those countries that had no right being there
Oh
because
my
because of.
gosh.
Mhm, mhm.
That's so crazy.
So yeah, and now that leads to 2021. That's my second year of college with Mattie, and well, two things happened. One, 2021 was the actual hardest year in the history of college admissions because
That
my results were okay.
20% is now deferred to
Yeah,
2021.
and that's, I think this anytime any student today is like, "What was me about any reason?" I go back off junior, like, no, 2021. That was easily the hardest year of ever getting to college, because you suddenly had the
Wow.
20% COVID year now
Yep.
filling those slots, and it was just brutal. And my results were okay, I guess, but yeah, like, and I kind of knew it at the time. And the other was that that in 2022, the wait list deferrals and wait lists were comical. Is the best way I could describe it. It was probably eight. I had probably 4 or 5 times more wait lists than I did rejections in the regular round with
Oh,
students.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're talking with like 15 students probably. Each student was students were there was memes of like waitlist combos. Like there was one student who racked like 15 waitlists, I think, and that was a student that she didn't get into many of them, but like yeah, it was that crazy. And that was because
Wow.
these schools when they get caught like back-footed, like they pivot, and that is what led to waitlist mania taking hold. And that can come off because it's just true. Um, that is what yes, and that is kind of what we are slowly rebounding from now, because I think these schools, it's still more than it used to be, I imagine. I don't really know, I guess, we look at numbers, but that is still like the idea of waitlist now is not
Mhm.
just about that, it's about like we will not get caught with this, like whatever, maybe yeah, like, and I think the more freaked out these schools tend to be, maybe the more waitlist goes up, because that is the band-aid that allows them to,
Yes.
if anything, it buys them time. It buys them another 3, 4, 5 months to figure out what's even going down. And we're living in a notably chaotic era of college admissions discourse, be it the president or Supreme Court
Mhm.
decisions or pandemics or scandals, and like I've been in that range, and like yes, I get more and more like why schools play defense that way. However, it seems like every year there's a slow like we can come out of the box now, and now I feel like there is. because it was insane 21, 22. Like, I was really annoying if you do LCIs and everything. I feel like we've reached a something that I find to be at least acceptable, like balance. So yeah, I do have thoughts on 2020 and college admission. In case you're wondering, it's
That's
my favorite story.
insane.
Hmm.
And I mean, now it's like the chaos from 2020 and 2021 has died down, but now in 2025, we're seeing like economic uncertainty. We saw the administration recently barring Harvard from enrolling international students, which like was blocked in court, but that's kind of like a TBD. Students who are like losing their visas, maybe even getting deported, budget cuts, cuts to federal research funding. So now there's all these unknowns. And I mean, I guess what's your take on waitlist for this year? Is it
You
echoing 2020 or
No, 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 heavens no. Well, it's not echoing 2020 is that I think the fake wait list kids aren't gonna get in because they don't
okay.
need it. 2021 is like the year that wait list became I really noticed them. Because 2020 was business as usual until all hell broke loose. That's why it was
Okay.
so chaotic.
Right.
It's difficult for me to discern in my work, if only because of small sample size. I only work with so many students and I only have so much work. And I guess I give myself I like to think that the vast, vast, vast majority of wait lists my students receive are on the real wait list, dare I say.
Mhm.
That can go back to what we talked about just I guess it'll be after this one. Yeah, it's like the system we use about backing up your major and showcasing the level of learning and writing very much about the work you want to do there. That stuff is custom built, well, A, to get you in, but also to make it very easy to place you on a real wait list. Like, okay, well, this kid obviously wants to be in the math department. We don't quite want him, but like if we need a mathematician, there we go. Like that's part of what we build it. And because of that, and similarly, I don't there's very little in application that makes I think the students we work with come off as like you would be concerned or feel that bad for rejecting. Like I hopefully they give off the impression they really want to come there, but they want to probably go to a lot of great schools. Like they're very passionate about math in general. So I bet another great school will be interested. So I don't think
Right.
and you're not worried about like their mental health or anything. Like a lot of stuff that I don't like doing is like because also at least the person reading this not worrying about saying no, just rejecting them, because they'll be fine. Yeah, I would say that it was not notable. Oh well, yeah, it's also quite honestly, it's kind of swaggy, but like I don't count them on because our students do really well. I was like
That's
acceptance,
true.
just getting. I tend not to really notice too many waitlist stuff. I see them. I mostly see them as soft rejections. It's like I will say
Mhm.
that in general. Well, I once thought the deferrals for everyone's like it's like 0% chance, but then the last 2 years the students gotten in it happens often enough, like, that I do humor it, and we do our best effort and build the letter of continued interest, which we could, I guess, get to. I guess I'll just introduce it here is, there's a chart that I loaded up, and this is part of why, like, waitlist mania is crazy. Like, waitlist doesn't mean the same thing for every school as well, and I talk about the different waitlist stuff, and
Yeah.
the school that I always think of is Dartmouth, so I guess I'm now going to. I was told to screen share when I oh, no, but you're in front of the screen share. This, as always, is from some other college consulting website that I cannot speak to their viability or quality, but I do like their charts. So this is basically just the published waitlist acceptance data from different schools, and this will kind of showcase why I had to wear a hat. Is there's so much variance in what percentage of waitlist students actually get in, like say
Right.
compared to the difficulty of getting in regular decision, that it's almost like I look at this chart when a student is waitlisted. Like this is the first thing I consider is well, which school was it? I always think about Dartmouth, which is right here. Dartmouth waitlists a ton of students. Little to none get in. So that is why I
Interesting.
say,
Okay.
yeah. Whereas Cornell, I think is like a reasonable number. You should certainly try. They don't accept LCI work, but the UCs have a very wide variance. Berkeley is nobody essentially, or very few. But then Irvine, literally everyone. Which I didn't know. And Irvine is the Mad Hatter of college admissions, so I guess that checks out.
Ah,
But then USC is 13%. San Diego's 20%. And I guess my most practical advice for students who are still sitting and waiting on a wait list is you should check out this site or just Google college admissions like waitlist acceptance rates, and you'll find a bunch of similar stuff. It's publicly noted. Is Stanford on here? Yeah, Stanford 6%. So it generally it seems like with the most elite schools, at best, you are getting back to kind of like your overall odds of getting in the first place. Like Stanford being like
mhm.
4%. But you can see they only waitlist like 400 students. These are probably pretty strong applicants. Like I doubt Stanford has like a fake waitlist. This also could probably explain why there was so much goddamn chaos for different schools.
Yeah.
But yeah, news you can use is if you are really hoping out for a single school. I guess we're getting a little bit late in the process. Although I once had a student accepted to Stanford off the wait list. I believe it was July 30th,
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm nearly certain that he was the last student that entire year accepted into Stanford, and it was incredible. And I think it's because they really liked his essay about bees, is my guess. But yeah, so like that. I guess this chart is what it showcase that is you can actually look at it and well, I would believe this chart,
Mhm.
is I trust this chart more than my own experience because small sample size. I simply do not have that many memories of either a student like being waitlisted or really caring that much about the wait list. So my policy with students is we do a letter of continued interest, which is now that time has passed for any school they would prefer to go to over a school they've been accepted to.
Right.
And it seems logical enough. Whereas like if you're waitlisted at Cornell, but you would rather go to Dartmouth over Cornell, and you're in Dartmouth, you don't need to care about Cornell. So I don't care about Cornell in that scenario. So like that's where a lot of my mental energy is I don't really remember or know. The ones I remember in the last few years are when it's a lot honestly, it's a student being in Brown, be like, yeah, I guess I'd rather go to Harvard. So we try Harvard and then they don't get into Harvard. And does that
Okay.
mean that waitlists don't work out or students are screwed? And they're like, no, it just means that it's better to trust a much larger sample size of data to figure out like what's actually going to happen because but these numbers do kind of match my it's hard like I don't know I think waitlists are well they're not forced I guess I have one more
Yeah.
I have one more waitlist hat thing can I drop that one
Okay.
basically, students, very important. If you are waitlisted, you may very well be getting a phone call or a frantic email from the admissions team at that school. They will often phrase it as like, "Hey there, this is Barbara. And it's like we were consider, and they'll be pretty straightforward with you and upfront. It's like we're considering accepting you. How'd you think about that, Junior? It'll be that energy, I sure. And I actively coach my students that if that's and you at home, you just won an Oscar. Congratulations, because you need to act
Mhm.
as the most excited, ready to go. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, thank you so much, student in the history of college admissions. Then you calmly think about it talk about your parents and see if you actually want to go there or not. Because what's happening is if when the waitlist stuff comes, time gets very tight very quickly for these schools.
Right.
The timeline is, well, you're supposed to be there in August and they're supposed to get your money as soon as possible. They're probably supposed to have it, like your deposit. So these schools have enough time to get through the wait list. What they don't have is enough time to accept students off the wait list only for them not to show up.
Yes.
Basically, they can't go back to the well. Like they get one crack at the wait list, and then those students accept, but then they'll go. Now they're just down a kid, and they got to figure it out on the back end. They can't. There's no wait list. They can't go that far.
Yeah.
When that's why they have to be very choosy and very careful about which students they offer those slots to going as far as to kind of call you, the student, in the middle of the day and put you on the spot about it. And
Right.
I feel pretty strongly is that yes is not good enough because they can't take that risk. Similarly, it's like, oh my god, this one pisses me off. Is like I'll let you know, like you are not getting into that school. I don't think because that one
Oh,
bump.
yes.
I'm pretty militant about this because it's bullshit. There are kids that really want to go to these schools, but that's a lot of
Yeah.
things to throw at a 17-year-old who's like in the middle of
Right.
class who took a number from a Chicago area code.
So they need to say, like, "I
Just
will
naming a random
attend."
city, a
Yeah.
Chicago area code, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So it's news you can use is that be ready for it because that is
Mhm.
my understanding of how it'll either be an email or often a phone call, and they'll put you on the spot and you need to make it so clear that you are so excited, like, oh my god, thank you so much, yes, yes, like scream yes, yes, yes over and over and over again, and they'll go, awesome. Well, maybe you'll expect an email, maybe, and then very important, you go, okay, and then you call your parents, like, hey, so I got in Chicago, like, do I actually want to go? Like, yeah, me neither. Yeah, because then it's on you. Look, they can't do S if you don't go. It screws them over.
Yeah.
But like, that's not your problem. Right? It's not binding in any way. So then you just politely decline, and then go to the school you want to go to. But like, it's just a good rule of thumb, and I teach them. So that's it's
Okay,
okay.
here's a
Hats
question
back on. Hats
then.
back off. Okay.
Well, here's a question. What if they get a call or an email from, like, 3 schools? Do they say the same do
Hell
they
yeah, you do, bro.
Okay.
This is okay.
They're all their first. Those schools are all their first choice while they're talking to that
Here's why I don't like waitlists, and I understand them, and I deal with them. College admissions is hard, and it's hard on students, and we do what we can to help them out, and much more time. But like we've both seen it. It's like it's hard on us. It's a hard process, and it's a lot of work.
Mhm.
But I think the vast majority of students, they don't like it, you know, they're not weirdos like us, but like weirdos like me at least. I think you like it. I think you like it. But they I could tell that even ones that are having a hard time, they understand somewhere between like this is just it's what it takes, you know, like this is
Yeah.
and that this is the process, you know, it's like it's a right. I've said like we lack a rite of passage, becoming a man, becoming a woman thing in America specifically, and like this is the closest that exists. It's college admissions, like this gauntlet, like is kind of the U.S. version of that. And
Mhm.
but the rules are you get everything done by November 1st for early schools, you get everything done by November 30th for the UCs, you get everything done by January 1st for the regular schools. You do your very best effort, then you sit there for 2 months, then you figure out where you doing good, and then you move on with your life. You figure it out and you go from there.
Okay.
Waitlists break that, where they're like,
Yeah.
actually you need to write another essay. You need to meet with the goofball with the shirt for a bonus session, like and like talk to Michelle again. You know, it's like, and you also need to, yeah. But this one's a little bit different. You need to like basically in your LSCI make it clear that like you actually will sign up. Then you need to wait for a phone call that may or may not ever show up, and that's what bums me out because I could tell it's well, I'm glad that it's pretty rare my students like I downplay waitlist stuff because I don't want to deal with that, and usually
Okay.
we don't have to because they got into a school that's pretty darn good, and I can be like, you're probably not. It's easier to be like, sure, we'll take a crack at this one, but like don't expect it because I don't want them to like sit by the phone. I want them to be excited about their usually very good school they're attending. But I have
Mhm.
unfortunately been in scenarios where the student did not get into a school they're thrilled about, and they are sitting there waiting on the phone for 3 months, and that sounds like it's just the worst crap ever.
Yeah.
What was the original question? Like, yeah, about like there was an original question. I just wanted to rant more about waitlist. I have takes, if you could say.
Just yeah, I mean, if you get like multiple calls from
Oh yeah, right. So screw these schools. How dare they? I knew the question. I knew there was a follow up. I just forgot the question. They cheated. Why can't you? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I kind of I try to like you can play with the rules, and I think people listening to this podcast enough is like I'm never just saying like just lie or say whatever. You should be pretty genuine. However, when it reaches waitlist time, they are screwing with you. They really are. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. Like they broke their side of the argument. So when they call you, yeah, just lie to them, like, and then figure it out, or not. Maybe you want to go. It is much more. I do not want you playing that mental math on the phone. Like that's what that is probably the logistical
Right.
reason. Is I
Yeah.
cannot tell you when or how this will come, or it might just be totally wrong, and you'll get like a quiet play. Let's let you in. I don't know, but in this
Mhm.
scenario, I want you ready to go, and that is why I coach students on this because they put you on the spot because they don't want you coached by a crazy guy who says
Right.
yes because they only want you to say yes if you're absolutely going to really go and give them money immediately.
Yep.
But screw that. Then you call your parents and talk to them about it and figure out your options. And you're like, yeah, I did it for 3 different schools. I don't know. Like I want. It's because I see. I really do believe understanding the stakes of these schools. I understand that's why they do it. Have to do it. They have to do it like in such a
Right.
cutthroat way. Where and I really do believe if they're trained like any sort of hesitation or like no, they're like just like because
Mhm.
they'll phrase it as like we're considering you a slot. Like and if they get
Yeah.
any inclination that you are not going to say yes, revoke your deposit wherever the hell you're ending up, and send them a check like ASAP. They move on
Yep.
because they can't have that. So yeah, you have to lot you have like the war machine is like you are ready to go. I don't know. Yeah.
Students need to be ready to play the game.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
about
And this
like leveraging waitlist offers? Like, what if I got a call from like Harvard and Princeton? Can I, or is that dangerous? Or
that's just not my game. Like leveraging them for what?
I don't know, like I got a scholarship from one. Can you match that? Or,
I cannot in good faith say, like, never do that, it doesn't work. I will say that has never been my philosophy, like, I don't handle financial aid, you know, like, I'm like, find the
mhm.
podcast episode where I'm talking about, you know, like FAFSA, like, it's this is not it's neither of our realms, quite honestly, you know, it's like
Yeah, that's true.
and if it was going to be, I would have hired someone else, like an accountant type to, like, hand it out to people, but that's not what our clients tend to really be focusing upon. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't think that that would in my limited experience trying to do that kind of stuff, usually the schools are like, "No, we can't do that. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you." Yeah, that would be my guess. However, that's different than yeah, well, I don't know. It is much more I do everything possible with it, and then I it's about trying to get in essentially off the
Right,
wait list
right.
versus anything else.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what about okay, so your students that you're working with now are obviously going to apply in the fall. Are you going to just keep your same approach of like early decision, early action, like with all this unknowns that have been happening this year? Or
Yeah, the game is the game is becoming a catchphrase about this process that I didn't I think about a lot. I guess is it and there's I know you always find the news reports, like, are waitlists up again? I mean, that's my question, like, overall, because I in my realm, they spiked heavily in 2021, they basically were 90-95% as much in 2022. Then there was a gradual decline to around like maybe 60% of what it, I don't know what it used to be, but like they're still high. Like they're pretty common, but it seems like it's leveled out there. Is there any data to suggesting that it's changed again?
Yeah, there's been like an article in Forbes and Intelligencer that's saying with like international students not sure that they're going to come, like low income students not sure about the Pell Grant, that there's more being pulled off the wait list this year.
Yeah, I quite honestly, I feel like the only defense to it is to do what we've done before, to apply to many more schools.
Hmm.
That Yeah, at its core, waitlist, it's not that dissimilar to be like, college admissions is more competitive than ever, you know? It's have you seen? Like, we have a chart of how hard they are, but here at Mattie, we have the Mattie advantage where over 4 times, you know,
Right.
like, whatever. Like, yeah, that all yes, this process continues to be hard, and there's always gonna be variance, and yeah, tea leave reading, I could definitely see specifically for international work, these schools having even more waitlist slots because there's so much insecurity.
Right.
That all but, like, how do you fix it? It just leads back to, yeah, internationals need to be applying to a lot of schools just like nationals do, but international is gonna be harder in the first place, and yeah, that we could
That
speak.
makes sense.
I don't wanna admit that, like, I don't know how much I can speak to international stuff because like, we have a surplus of international students this year, like, I think very much related to a lot of the stuff you're talking about is that
Yes.
I think clients are gonna that's probably like a fun little helpful add, like, learning in this job is just clients tend to reach out to you that are tightly linked to whatever problems might be happening to certain people in this process in the first place,
It's
that's what I think.
true. Yeah.
Um, it's the same solution though. It's apply to as many schools as possible. If you are waitlisted to write a good LOCI, and then yeah, like win an Oscar. It's like and it's yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Like those that is how we play defense against it.
That's part of the College with Maddie strategy is practicing your Oscar acceptance speech, just in
Well,
case you get that waitlist call.
to be fair, they do students now all do they do all the interview prep with you. So I don't know what you're telling them to do for that.
I think I'm
I
going to
hand
add that in though.
You don't need to memorize like a 15-minute monologue of all the opportunities you want to do with that school. Although that would work, you know? Like we're considering like you know, it's like, oh my god, so you guys have a computer lab with this professor that you just start going, just start like, okay, we get it, we get it. Like I bet that would work. I bet that like, that is like you just keep talking until they like they ask you to stop, and then
Exactly. Yes.
okay, that's showing not tell. That's true acting. That's show don't tell, I guess. But yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. Please, can I call my parents? Like, yeah, we got to set this up. How? When? That is the
Yeah.
energy. That's how you do it.
Right. And what about like students right now who, I mean, we're getting towards the end of June. They have committed to a school because May 1st is usually the cutoff, but they're holding out hope for getting a waitlist call. Like what advice or takeaways do you have for them?
Well, I think you can do both. I think rather than say give like a hard date, I will say that I could go back and find the so I just went and double checked. It was actually July 19th, I suppose, was basically when he heard about it, and I believe that was very much near the end of it. It should be coming out. Yeah, I guess this is going to be coming out right near the end of June or beginning of July, and
Hmm.
yeah, I think if you get to August, it's hard for me to believe that they're still accepting any students because they ran out of time by that point.
Yeah.
I think over the next couple weeks, students is I think now's the right time, probably around this is coming out, to have like a nice, more neutral transition from hope to like okay, I don't know, it happened, and
Yeah.
yeah, if anything, go look at that chart again. But sure, you know, it's like well, I'm still waiting back on Notre Dame. I don't know. It's
Right.
like
This could be the year, Maddie.
dude, I would hate Notre Dame. What was I thinking? Like, it was Notre Dame, Michigan, and USC, and I get Michigan and USC. Michigan would be too cold. I knew that at the time. And then like Notre Dame, I'm not even religious. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think there can be a gradual transition that by the time you reach August, like it's time to let it go. And my
Okay.
hope is that uh, that will be a fairly natural process for students. Like I don't let that ruin the fact that you didn't like yeah like don't let the school you're waiting like ruin your August and September as you're arriving at your new one. You know try to have
Right. Right.
that healthy break because that's much more likely to lead you fall in love with where you are going and like it's
Hmm.
embrace that like you're going to college like and I know the vast majority of students where it doesn't work out they know deep down like this is okay like it's like you can it's just like it's okay to be upset or bummed out when it doesn't work out
Yeah.
there it really do encourage you to try to make that transition and to getting excited about what is going to happen because I think one of the saddest things is a student who like allows where they didn't get in to be a reason that their actual college experience isn't what they want it to be. And
Right. Right.
So that's why I would encourage them to be like, all right, whatever, because that's what the schools
Okay.
want. Quite honestly, they want
Yeah,
to say, well,
that's
all right,
true.
whatever. Hmm.
Well, hopefully that's helpful for kids who are kind of still waiting to hear from Waitlist. And I'm glad that the hat came out today. That was exciting.
Yeah.
And see you next time.
Thank you, Michelle. I am now taking on students for the 2025-26 college admissions season. If you are a current junior who's looking for help specifically with their college application and essays, you should check out my website. It's collegewithmattie.com, and there you can see my services, my blog with other written posts, as well as book out a free consultation where you get a chance to chat with me and see how I might be able to help. Looking forward to meeting with you.